My stepsister announced she was 4 months pregnant with my fiancé's child, right in the middle of my wedding. My family stood and clapped for them. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked away in silence. 3 months later, I returned with nothing but a smile and handed them a box. Their happiness turned into tears because inside the box was. If someone had told me a year ago that I'd be sitting here telling this story, I would have laughed and brushed it off. My life was on track, better than ever, actually. I had just turned 31, was living in downtown Seattle, working as a marketing executive at a firm that appreciated my ideas, and I was engaged to a man I thought I'd spend forever with. Daniel Myers. Smart, soft-spoken, supportive. We met at a tech conference in San Francisco. He was a senior software developer giving a talk on AI ethics. I asked a question during the Q&A, and he found me afterward to continue the discussion. It started with coffee, turned into dinners, long phone calls, and before I knew it, he was in my world like he had always belonged. I still remember the night he proposed. We were on a rooftop overlooking the city skyline, wrapped in a blanket, sipping wine. "I want you, Alyssa. All of you forever," he said, sliding the ring onto my finger. I believed him. I truly did. I said yes through tears and laughter, feeling like the luckiest woman alive. Everything moved quickly after that. We set a date for June and decided on a lakeside wedding. I handled most of the planning. It's just who I am. Organized, detail-focused. Daniel helped when he could, though I started noticing he seemed distracted. I chalked it up to work stress. He had just transitioned to a new project and was pulling long hours. Or so he said. But looking back, the signs were there. Then there was my family. My relationship with them was always complicated. My mom, Cynthia, remarried when I was 7. Her new husband, Barry, was decent in a basic sense. Never cruel, but never really warm. He had a daughter from a previous relationship, Kayla, who was 5 years younger than me. From the start, it was obvious who the favorite was. Kayla could do no wrong. She could crash cars, drop out of school, burn through their savings to chase an influencer dream, and they'd still call her spirited. Meanwhile, I was the serious one. The one who followed rules, paid my own bills, built my life from scratch. I didn't live for their approval anymore, but that didn't mean it didn't sting. My biological dad, Dr. Victor Grant, lived down in Portland. A retired neurologist with a quiet life and a golden retriever named Max. We talked occasionally. Birthday calls. Holiday texts. He never fought for custody, never came to school plays. But I couldn't hate him. Maybe because, in his quiet way, he always let me know he cared. Maybe because, deep down, I always hoped he'd show up when I really needed him. 3 weeks before the wedding, things started to shift. Daniel became more distant. Less affectionate. He'd go quiet during dinner, avoid eye contact when we discussed vows. "Just tired," he kept saying. "It's the workload." I believed him. Because I wanted to. Kayla, on the other hand, was suddenly around a lot more. She'd never taken much interest in my life before, but now she was showing up to bridal fittings, chiming in with venue advice, even texting Daniel funny memes and random check-ins. I noticed. Of course, I noticed. But I thought I hoped I was being paranoid. The night before the wedding, we hosted a small rehearsal dinner at the venue. My mom beamed as if everything was perfect. Barry gave a toast about new beginnings. Daniel smiled politely, but barely touched his food. Kayla was glowing, overly chatty, loud, sipping mocktails with a strange smugness in her eyes. Later, when I pulled Daniel aside, I asked, "Are you okay?" He gave me a tired smile. "Just nerves. Everything's going to be fine." I kissed his cheek and whispered, "I can't wait to marry you." The next day, I woke up early. My best friend helped me into my dress. My makeup was flawless. The sun was shining, the lake sparkled. The guests had all arrived. I stood behind the ceremony doors, bouquet in hand, heart pounding, not with fear, but joy. Then the doors opened. I stepped forward, music playing, all eyes on me, and then chaos. Before I reached the altar, a voice cut through the music. "Stop. Stop the wedding." I froze. Everyone turned. It was Kayla, standing at the back, her face flushed, breathing heavy. "I'm pregnant," she shouted. "With Daniel's baby." For a moment, no one moved. The world around me stood still. Then voices, gasps, Daniel calling her name. I looked at him. "Tell me she's lying." He wouldn't meet my eyes. Silence. The pain hit me like a truck. "You cheated on me with her?" I whispered. He tried to say something, but the words didn't matter. "Not anymore." Guests murmured. Cameras clicked. My mother ran to Kayla. Barry followed, looking concerned. And then Cynthia turned to me, her voice steady. "Alyssa, maybe we can fix this. Daniel's willing to take responsibility. Don't throw everything away." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Responsibility? He betrayed me with my sister. "She's not your sister," Cynthia said coldly. "You're not even acting like family." That was the moment I realized I was utterly alone. I left, ripped off my veil, tore through the crowd, and didn't look back. That night, I drove to Portland. I hadn't called ahead. I just showed up at my dad's door with mascara-streaked cheeks and shaking hands. He opened the door, saw my face, and pulled me into a hug. "Come in," he said softly. "Whatever happened, we'll figure it out." And I broke. Not just cried, I broke. Because I thought I had lost everything. But what I didn't know then was that I had just begun. The first few days in Portland felt like a blur. I barely spoke, barely ate. My dad didn't push. He made me tea, left books by the bedside, and simply existed in the background like a calm anchor. I stayed in the guest room, the same one I used as a teenager during summer visits. Funny how a place could hold so many versions of you. On the fourth night, he made pasta and we finally talked. I told him everything about Daniel, Kayla, the wedding, my mother's reaction. Every word felt heavier than the last. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he just said, "I'm sorry, sweetheart. You didn't deserve any of that." I nodded, swallowing back the ache. "I don't even know who I am anymore." "You're still you," he said. "They didn't take that from you. You're just hurt. But hurt heals." He was right. And after 2 weeks of hiding, something in me stirred. Maybe it was pride, or maybe it was anger. But I was done being broken. I needed to rebuild. That's when Dad mentioned Lincoln and Marks. A friend of his from med school, now married to the founder, had mentioned they were hiring. A digital branding firm, fast-growing, competitive. He said, "You're smart, talented. Go show them." I hesitated. "You think they'd even look at me?" "I'd hire you in a heartbeat," he smiled. "Let them see what I see." I sent in my resume the next day, still half-doubting myself. But a week later, I got the call. The interview went smoothly, clean, sharp questions about market trends, client strategy. I felt alive again talking about the work I loved. Within days, they offered me the position. I said yes. The office was downtown, all glass and chrome, with a view of the river. My team was a mix of smart, focused people. I kept my head down, worked hard, avoided personal conversations. They respected that. Within a month, I was leading 2 major projects. I started to feel like myself again. Until the morning Daniel walked in. I had just finished my coffee when I heard the voice I hadn't expected to hear again. "Hey everyone, I'm Daniel Myers. I'll be joining as the new app development lead." My stomach dropped. I looked up and locked eyes with him. He froze for half a second, clearly just as surprised. I wanted to scream or disappear, but I didn't. I nodded, said, "Welcome to the team," and went back to my screen. That day, I worked in a fog. I couldn't believe it. Out of all companies in Seattle, he had to land at mine? Had the universe not humiliated me enough? In the days that followed, I avoided him. I kept things professional, brief, distant. I wasn't going to let him see me unravel again. But of course, he couldn't leave it alone. One afternoon, in the break room, he cornered me. "Alyssa, can we talk?" he asked. "There's nothing to talk about," I replied flatly.
"Please.
Just hear me out." I stood still, arms crossed.
Fine.
"Talk." He looked tired, nervous. "I didn't mean to hurt you. What happened, it wasn't planned. Kayla was vulnerable. We both made a mistake. I scoffed. You cheated on your fiancé with her stepsister. That's not a mistake. That's a decision. He sighed. She lost the baby, Alyssa. She was devastated. And now she can't have kids again. That stress, that day, it broke her. And you. Stop. My voice was ice. Are you seriously blaming me for that? You ran. You left her in pieces. I felt something inside me snap. You're unbelievable. You lied. You betrayed me. And now you're trying to make me feel guilty. He didn't reply. Just stared at me, guilt and bitterness written all over his face. I walked away, shaking, fuming. That night, I told my dad everything. Over dinner, in low, tight words. He listened, his fork frozen midair. When I finished, he leaned back and took a long breath. There's something I need to tell you. What? He looked almost ashamed. Kayla didn't have a miscarriage. I blinked. What? She came to see me after the wedding. Told me she'd had an abortion. That the baby wasn't Daniel's. I sat there stunned. She said it was someone she met at a bar. A fling. She didn't want the baby, so she ended it. I didn't say anything then, because I thought it wasn't my place. But now she's blaming me for something that never happened. I finished for him. He nodded, regret in his eyes. I felt sick. All this time, I had carried guilt. Thought maybe, just maybe, I'd pushed her too hard. But it was all a lie. She manipulated everyone. Lied to Daniel. Lied to our family. Lied to me. I stood up from the table. I need air. Outside, I paced the porch, heart pounding. Betrayal layered on betrayal. But this time, I wasn't going to walk away. She wanted drama? I'd give her the truth. And I'd make sure the world heard it. I just needed proof. Something she couldn't deny. And that's when I thought of hiring someone. Someone who could get close to Kayla without raising suspicion. Someone who could catch her being her true self. Because if I'd learned anything by now, it was this. People always expose themselves when they think no one's watching. And Kayla? She loved an audience. The next morning, I began looking for someone who could do the job quietly, without drama, without traces. I didn't want confrontation. I wanted undeniable truth. It didn't take long to find her. Jasmine Cole, private investigator, mid-40s, ex-journalist, now specialized in personal surveillance and truth extraction. Her online reviews read like spy novels, and her reputation was solid. I sent a brief message, and within a few hours, we met at a quiet diner in Portland. She sat across from me in jeans and a leather jacket, notebook in hand. So, Alyssa, she said, her tone calm but curious. What are we after? I explained everything. Daniel, Kayla, the fake miscarriage, the abortion, the lies, and how Kayla was still playing the victim card while destroying what little was left of my reputation. Jasmine didn't flinch. She just listened. She still lives in Seattle? She asked. I nodded. Same condo. Still spends most weekends partying downtown. She's not hard to find. And how close are you now? Not at all. Haven't spoken since the wedding. Perfect, she said. That means she won't see me coming. I asked her how she planned to approach it. She likes attention, right? Instagram, TikTok, the influencer scene? I'll blend in. I'll meet her at a bar she frequents, strike up a conversation. The rest is just patience. People like that always say too much when they feel safe. Her confidence gave me a strange kind of comfort. I nodded. Whatever it takes. I just want the truth. On record. Jasmine smiled. Then let's get it. She left for Seattle the next morning. The following days were slow torture. I checked my phone every few minutes, jumped at every buzz. I couldn't focus at work. Daniel kept his distance, though I could feel him watching me sometimes. I didn't acknowledge it. He wasn't even worth a glance anymore. On the fifth night, Jasmine finally called. I got it, she said simply. I froze. Got what? Everything. I met her that evening in a quiet parking lot near the waterfront. She handed me a flash drive and a pair of earbuds. She went on a rant. Wine and ego make people careless. Just listen. I plugged it in and pressed play. Kayla's voice came through, slurred and laughing. I told everyone it was Daniel's. Please. That man's so gullible. He actually cried. Thought he'd be a dad. But it wasn't even his, it was that bartender from Capitol Hill. Ugh. I wasn't about to raise his baby. You know. There was more. Racist slurs. Mocking laughter. She went on about how everyone believed her because she played the victim better than Alyssa ever could. She bragged about ruining my life, how pathetic I looked in my wedding dress, and how she owned the family now. I took out the earbuds slowly. My chest burned, not just from rage, but from clarity. There it was. Proof. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. That enough? More than enough, I said. Want me to keep going? No. This is the final blow. I thanked her, paid her, and went home. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared out the window at the city lights and planned. I waited 3 more days. I needed it to be perfect. I invited both Kayla and Daniel to a rooftop cafe downtown, somewhere neutral and public. No surprises. Just the truth. Kayla walked in first, wearing oversized sunglasses and a designer jacket, like she was attending a press conference. Daniel showed up minutes later, tense, guarded. They sat across from me at the table. Kayla gave a little fake smile. So? You finally ready to get over it? I leaned back and placed a plain envelope in the center of the table. What's this? Daniel asked. Proof, I said. Go ahead. Kayla reached for it, but I stopped her. Actually, I think Daniel should hear it first. He took out the flash drive and popped it into his phone. I watched his expression change. Curiosity, confusion, and then disbelief. As Kayla's voice filled the air, her smirk faded. She leaned in, eyes wide. You recorded me? No, I said calmly. Someone else did. You made it easy. Daniel stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over his chair. You lied. You lied to me. You lied about everything. Kayla stammered. Daniel, He didn't wait. He walked away, phone still in hand, shoulders stiff. Kayla turned to me, her face red with fury. You think this makes you smart? You'll regret this. I stared at her without blinking. Maybe. But I'm done being your victim. She stormed off, drawing eyes from nearby tables. I didn't care. I sat there for a while, watching the sunset, feeling the weight lift off my chest. The next morning, I uploaded the audio to an anonymous file and sent it to Lincoln and Mark's HR. By lunchtime, Daniel was pulled into a meeting. Later that week, he was quietly removed from the development lead role and reassigned to a side project with no client contact. I heard through whispers that HR had launched an investigation. As for Kayla, the fallout was swift. Brands she partnered with cut ties. Her influencer deals vanished overnight. Screenshots of her slurs from the recordings started circulating. Her carefully curated online persona collapsed in hours. She tried to delete everything, but it was too late. And me? I got called into the VP's office on Friday. We've been watching you, she said. You've handled everything with professionalism. You kept your head down, did your work. We'd like to promote you, team lead, if you're ready. I said yes. Not because I needed validation, but because I had earned it. That weekend, I walked along the waterfront, coffee in hand, the breeze soft against my skin. For the first time in months, I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I wasn't bracing for the next hit, because it was done. The damage was real. The scars were deep, but I was still standing. And I had the truth. After everything came to light, I expected peace to follow. I thought the silence would feel like freedom, but what came instead was something else. A strange mix of calm and emptiness. For weeks, I kept going to work, doing my job, accepting the congratulations and polite smiles from coworkers who once whispered behind my back. Some even apologized quietly in the hallway, saying they'd had no idea. I just nodded. I didn't need their words. I wasn't doing this for them. Kayla tried to reach out once. A text. Just 5 words. We need to talk. Please. I stared at it for a while, then deleted it. There was nothing left to say. The girl who once strutted through life like the center of the universe had finally been knocked off her pedestal. I didn't need an apology. I didn't want her to cry. I just wanted her out of my life. Daniel left the company a month later. No one said it out loud, but I knew he'd been pushed out. Quietly. Professionally. HR never made a scene, but after that meeting, his days were numbered. Last I heard, he moved to Chicago. Started at a startup with some old friends. He never contacted me again. That was fine. Closure doesn't always need words. It just needs distance. My mom, Cynthia, didn't call. Not once. I think she was embarrassed. Or maybe she still believed Kayla was the victim. That wouldn't surprise me. My whole life, I had tried to earn her approval. I tried to be the responsible one, the one who didn't cause trouble, who brought home awards instead of drama. But when it came down to it, she didn't choose me. Not when it mattered. And once I saw that clearly, it stopped hurting. Barry sent a single email. A strange, short message. Something about being sorry for how things turned out. He never said Kayla lied. Never acknowledged the audio. Just sorry it happened. That was enough for me to know that nothing had changed on their end. They'd rather live in silence than face the truth. But the truth had already done its job. The more time passed, the stronger I felt. My promotion came with more responsibility, more hours, but I didn't mind. I was building something now, something that was mine, untouched by lies or betrayal. I was leading a team, landing big accounts, even mentoring new hires. People looked to me now not just as a coworker, but as a leader. One evening, while walking home, I passed a bookstore and stopped at the window. A journal caught my eye, simple, leather-bound, navy blue. I bought it. That night, I sat on my bed and started writing. Not about Daniel or Kayla. Not about the betrayal. I wrote about me. What I wanted. Where I'd been. Who I was becoming. It wasn't easy. There were still nights when the memories came back. The look on Daniel's face when Kayla made that announcement. The sick twist in my gut when my mother told me to forgive him. The silence of the car ride to Portland. But those moments didn't control me anymore. They were part of the story, not the whole thing. A few months later, my dad and I took a trip. Just the two of us. We drove along the Oregon coast, stopping at little towns, hiking cliffs, eating too much seafood. One night by the fire, I told him how grateful I was. I don't think I ever really said it. I told him, but thank you for taking me in, for believing me. He just smiled. I'm sorry I wasn't there more when you were younger. I thought staying out of the way was helping. I nodded. I used to wish you had fought harder. But now? I think maybe this moment means more. You showed up when no one else did. He didn't say anything else. He just reached over and held my hand. After we came back, I got a message from a nonprofit in Seattle. They were looking for speakers, women who had overcome personal betrayals, especially from family. Someone had referred me. At first, I hesitated. Why would I reopen all of that in front of strangers? But the more I thought about it, the more it made sense. My story wasn't just mine anymore. Maybe someone else needed to hear it. So I said yes. The night of the event, I stood in front of a small crowd. Not too many people. Just enough to make it real. I told them everything. Not in detail, not with names. Just the truth. About believing in someone and being betrayed. About being abandoned by your own family. About choosing not to stay broken. When I finished, there was silence. Then applause. A woman in the front row had tears in her eyes. Later, she hugged me and whispered, "Thank you. I needed that." That's when I realized something. Revenge felt good. But healing? Healing was better. What Kayla and Daniel did to me, what my family allowed, could have destroyed me. But it didn't. Instead, it made space. Space for better people. For purpose. For peace. Now, when I walk past the mirror, I don't see the woman who ran from a broken wedding. I see the woman who stood back up. Who turned silence into power. Seattle's still home. The rain still falls. The city still hums. But I'm different now. Stronger. Sharper. I thought losing everything would be the end. But it was the beginning.